Today, we are talking about a topic, health and nutrition, which might seem a little obvious, but there is a lot to unpack. In fact, we can do an entire series around it, and we are going into some of the specifics around each aspect. And of course, our expert, as always, is my mom and somebody who's been on the field for more than a decade now and has a vast range of experience connecting with people from different areas related to this topic. So, the first question, of course, is through your journey, when was the first time you became more aware about the impact food has on health, on planet health, nutrition, the entire subject that we are getting into?
Hello, Abhishek. And yes, as you said, I have been here for past 10 years. So a lot of things I have picked up over a period of time. So it was not just, I didn't go in search of any of these things. I think this was a byproduct of my main focus that I was putting on the sustainable agriculture. So from 2014 onwards, when I started traveling, teaching farmers how to switch from their chemical, conventional agriculture to more sustainable, natural, or organic farming, at that point of time, I could see the difference in the taste of the food that was produced without any chemicals. So that was when, I could see the texture of the fruit or the vegetable, or the taste of the food, or, the shiny outer, of the vegetable fruit, and the sweetness in that. And also I saw that, the insects were eating quickly this kind of a food. And then as I recollected on one of the, when I visited Bangalore ashram, and I heard Gurudev telling that we are eating that kind of a food which even the insects don't touch. So these were the things, then I started observing more and more. Okay, this food is something different, and it tastes better. And that is when the first time I realized this is different, Though I did not put my mind into it to know the nutrition or health benefits of this, but the taste and the look, all this, that was when I first put my mind in that direction.
And speaking about the look, well, let's start over there. How much of a factor does this play on consumers, whether we are talking about urban or rural, the way in which a fruit or a vegetable looks, the color, the texture, how important is it today, considering the nutrition value or everything else that comes along with it?
Yes, it matters a lot. As we all know, whatever looks better is what people look at also. And that is more appealing to the eyes of the consumer. When just now you visited a supermarket, okay, so you must have also seen what is looking better, what is that appeals to you, right? So they are all, the look matters a lot. uh, that is how, even the dirty vegetable is also made to look nice by cleaning, polishing, and doing extra things to that and putting it on the shelf. Or the package, no, the packaging is done in such a beautiful manner that it appeals to the customer. So these are the factors on which the traders play, uh, on the minds of the customer. This helps them with their business. It differs from the rural area to the urbans and the cities, no, urban areas and cities. So the rural folk, they know what is what. Okay. In fact, if I tell you that farmers grow separately a small plot of land for themselves without any chemicals, they are aware, right? And the rest they grow so that you and I will buy. Huh? So this kind of a thing is already there in the amongst the farming community. So that is one thing. Second thing, they also know, and they are very prudent, that what tastes better, what is laden with chemicals, what is not. But when it comes to the urbanites and to the city folks, this is where, we lack knowledge. One, we are not aware how much of chemicals are going into our system, into our body every day. So, so the appeal is what, you know, it is made to look nice so that it appeals to you. And because it appeals to you, you buy. So it is like this. See, today, the world has achieved food security. Okay. But they have not secured the nutrition. Today, in India, as you and I sit to talk about this, India has secured uh, food. It is able to, feed its citizens as well as even to give to other neighbors who are in need of food. So much we have seen in the recent past, how much of, help we have given to many countries bordering our country, right? Our neighbors. So these were the things that we could achieve. But in the process of achieving this, we have not really put our mind on the nutrition part of it. That we have lost. Why we have lost? There are several factors why we have lost. But the main thing what we can talk today is the system of production. The way the food is produced, and food production, one thing. Second thing, our lifestyle also matters. So when you talk about health of a person, it's not just your individual health. You are dependent on the environment. Your environment health also counts, and in turn your planet health also counts. So they are all interlinked. That we can talk later, but what I'm trying to say is uh, this kind of a interlink we are missing on this point. We think, we just think of our individual body, our health, our nutrition. This is what our focus has been, but it's not so. You are getting your food from outside. When the whole outside is contaminated, how do you think that what you are eating is all very clean and neat and full of nutrition, right? So the food production is one thing, and the lifestyle we are leading is another thing, which is impacting the environment like anything. So you have disturbed already the environment very badly. Your impact is too much on the environment, and that in turn, causes all these problems for us now. So the carbon dioxide levels, if they are too high, also they leach the nutrients, the nutrition in the food that you produce. So when you do not even know what you are eating, whether chemically laden or naturally grown or organic, or hybrid or indigenous or a GMO. You are not aware of anything. And when it comes to that information is masked, veiled. So you cannot access that information. Deliberately, the whole thing is like that. So when you are not aware of all these things, and we just focus on one thing, my nutrition. So how do I get what supplements? So you are forced to think on those lines instead of going to the root cause, what is disturbing the nutrition, or you're not getting enough nutrition from the food, to a direction where you go on adding more and more and more and more production of other things, supplements and other things, which is added on into your life. So you are being misled totally, right? So these are the various things which most of us really do not know. The plate of food that comes on your table or a cup of tea that you drink, you really do not know from where your tea powder has come, who has manufactured, who has grown it, where it was, processed, who has packaged it, how it is on the shelf for so long, how is it preserved, and then coming to your house, you making tea, then the sugar from where you're getting, you hardly have any clue on this. So when we miss on a simple cup of tea, forget about the entire food chain, the list of items that you eat, which are totally chemically laden, or it could be a GMO, or it could be also a naturally produced one. So this cluelessness is what we all are going through this now, this phase. We are going through this. So
I quickly wanted to ask you about supplements that you mentioned. Do you feel because we are lacking nutrition here, we are going for other supplements externally? Because in many cases, we see the solution to every problem is here's a tablet, take it, or here is some other supplement, consume it. Are we trending in that direction? And because there is no nutrition at the source, we are going to other places. And probably that might have a secondary and tertiary effects once we get into that.
See, it could be both ways. One is when you look back, say when I was your age, sometimes back. So the main source of our nutrition was food. Okay. It is, for centuries that has been the case. Because as you and I know, when we eat food, a process happens within the body of our human beings, animals, where the food is digested and the nutrients are absorbed. This is the basic understanding we have had from our childhood. We are taught like that. And it is assimilated, and that nutrition, that nutrient which is absorbed, that is supplied to all the parts of the body, that helps you to grow, to recover, and reproduce. So these are the things why a nutrition is required at all in the food. So now this is the basic thing, that nutrition. Now over a period of time, what the food was supposed to give you, that nutrition. If you lack the nutrition, certainly you will look elsewhere. That is one thing. And what is that elsewhere? It could be a natural source, what your parents would have given you in addition to the normal food that you have had. Like, when you see our grandmothers and mothers trying to tell us, see, when you feel weak, you take this, you take this concoction, or you take this additional dry fruit laddu or some sort of a powder, where edible gum is added to that. So take some ghee. All these are the age-old practices. Whenever somebody felt sick or weak, and somebody is sick also, they try to derive the medicine right from their kitchen. That was the practice there. But now, when you have a scenario where the market is flooded with so many supplements, okay, each day some new product is coming out, and you are, like, you have so much of technology and so much of advertisements happening, and you get that through different media, the digital, the print, the social, so many media, and you are being bombarded day after day, day after day. And the narrative is run over and over and over, saying that this is for protein, you need this for your bones, this is calcium, this is Horlicks, like that, for example, I'm telling you. So for growth, this is what the children should have. Like that, if you are bombarded from morning to night, certainly it will have an impact. Now, as I said, when I was of your age, this kind of a bombardment was not there. So ultimately, if we lacked anything in our food, the nutrition, then we used to go back to the natural source and try to get it, right? But now this is not the case. So much of, so many products, so much of advertisement, and so many channels telling you, you're getting to know this knowledge through WhatsApp and through so many other media. So certainly this plays on your mind, saying that you will have to pick up, though you may not require that, or you may require to. We really do not know. Nobody can actually measure how much you really need and how much you lack and how much you need to supplement. If each individual, if we can map, then I think you should go for supplements. But if you cannot map and you are groping in the dark and trying to imagine that you will become a Superman doing this, taking that supplement, this supplement, or a child growing up so big and strong and healthy bones for a woman, and for menopause, this, that, for PCOD, this thing. Like this, if you are bombarded, naturally somewhere it gets into your system and you try to adopt. So there was a time when they used to introduce eggs that you should eat every day. So there was a narrative run, no? No, Roj Kai Ande. That was a narrative, and it was run so much, though there was only one Doordarshan at that time. The moment you switch on the TV, you will have invariably that advertisement running, right? So like that, and milk, they ran that narrative so that everybody drinks milk, everybody has eggs. So like this, when narratives are run, you are nothing but you are a pawn in their hands. That's what I can tell you. It's not that you lack nutrition, or it's not that you don't lack nutrition. That one aspect of it, but this is another aspect, this marketing part.
That is true. And along with that, one thread that we can probably pull out is there is the marketing, and there is also very convenient ways in which we can get all of those supplements, and convenience plays a huge role here. How much do you think it also plays a role of us conveniently ordering fruits and vegetables, not knowing the source, not knowing what is happening behind it? How much of a factor does that play in when it comes to nutrition? And where are your thoughts on this?
Certainly, you are clueless, as I said. When you order vegetables, fruits, uh, then you do not know the source. Even if you go to the market and you do not know the source, it's not that your food delivery system or the online e-commerce platforms. I don't condemn any of these things. These have eased life on for us now. And especially during pandemic, we saw how much we were dependent on the e-commerce platform. So there's nothing wrong with all those things. But what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to food, you are clueless whether you order the food or you buy it on online platform, or even if you go to a supermarket or you go to a local market, you are not aware, right? So that part, we are clueless. As I said, there is a very thick veil between that information you cannot access so easily. That's why that transparency and traceability, this is where it comes. Certainly, it will be in very near future. At least in India, we may have those laws, and we may get to know from where they are sourcing this. When you're really particular about natural or organically grown one, and you want to track from where it has come, trace it back to the producer, you may be able to do it. But majority of the produce that is sold, or the products or the vegetables that are sold, fruits, vegetables, certainly no, you cannot track.
Yep, having those laws and regulations will certainly help. Now, you've also worked with different countries and companies from across the globe. Are there any countries where there are protocols, standards, or policy which is helping towards having better food, more nutritional produce, or anything that comes in or grown? Are there any countries which have policies which are more focused on that aspect? And of course, there is always the trade-off between the supply and demand, hunger, and many other issues. But are there any countries where the policies are friendlier towards having nutritional food?
Certainly, the whole of Europe, I can say, they have stringent rules. They don't want to give anything or everything to their people. They are very particular about having very less chemicals in the food, and they have prescribed. It's a very high standard to meet with to begin with. And second thing, they oppose GMO. They have brought a referendum for all the GM, genetically modified food. So Europe, it is very tough. And especially when I was working on a project with Netherlands, I could see that they wanted to trace everything, trace back to the grower, who is growing, how he is growing, in what conditions, and after production, how the post harvest is handled, in what manner, the way it was prescribed by the EU standards, and then the samples were tested, and they were tested for 400 plus chemicals. If you pass all that, only then you think of exporting to Europe. That is a high standard they have set. It's very good. They care for the citizens, and they have set that standards. And as you know, most of the other countries where there is always a not very pronounced laws. So everything is camouflaged and presented, and you have to really look into the label to find out what is that, whether it is conventionally grown, natural, or a GM. So now what I have heard very recently, that they try to even label it in such a fashion that you have to have the knowledge to find out whether it is, what product it is. So this kind of a thing is a mix in the world, but Europe stands out. they have very stringent laws. They don't want to give any trash to their uh, citizens. That they are very particular.
Yeah, and I think the European Union countries also are doing better relatively when it comes to food security, so they can also have these laws in place. And the countries where there are issues with food security, probably the first need is to address that, then move towards the other aspects. It'll be curious to see countries where they're doing better with food security, but they're not focused on nutritional aspects, or where the marketing and all of these trends take over. That would be an interesting discussion. One question on some of the causes is we have a lot of technology coming in. We are hearing about aquaponics, hydroponics, growing fruits even under UV light indoors in tunnels. Based on your experience, do any of these play a role in nutrition? Is it the same, or is it coming down when it comes to the nutritional aspect?
See, the basic understanding is, any plant grows in the soil medium. That we all know. Okay, soil is the medium in which it grows. Now that soil, if it is full of, the required nutrients are there, the plant is supposed to be healthy, the soil is supposed to be healthy. Naturally, you will get good produce too. And if it is chemically not contaminated and your nutrition is not leached, the produce is also healthy and nutritive. This much is the basic understanding. Now, coming to other mediums like aquaponics or hydroponics or under UV light, again, it could be a soil medium because they do not have the natural sunlight. They may be adopting other methods like you have the greenhouse, glass house, greenhouse, poly houses, where, in a controlled medium, but they will be giving all the nutrition and it could be in the soil medium. So that is one aspect. Now, coming to these two mediums, aquaponics and hydroponics, I have seen and watched that if you have to give the required nutrients into the water medium, that is hydroponics, then only the plant can get the nutrients and it can grow. Without, nutrients, it cannot grow also. It's not just the water that helps it to grow. It needs the other nutrients. In the soil, it is getting all the nutrients because the soil is bound, full of that all the macro, micronutrients, everything is present. Now there they have to monitor and also give it at a regular interval. And aquaponics is not very different from this hydroponics. The thing is, they spray the water, like very little water, and again it's a controlled environment in which it is grown, so it is managed. So whenever it is a controlled environment, they see that the nutrition is given to the plant, the water is given to the plant, there's enough light for it to grow. All these are managed. In only hydroponics, what happens is it could be in the open, but the medium is water. So when the medium is water, and water has what? It has only H2O. You need to give other nutrients into the water in order for the plant to grow. So how much of nutrition is there in those plants, in those produce or vegetables or fruits? That needs to be really looked into. Now what the propagation is, there are other mediums as well, and we can grow. This is the propagation. But the thing is, how much of nutrition is still there in that, or it is not there? Depending on, now again, it will vary from what nutrition you have given to the medium. What nutrients you have supplied to the medium is what matters. Yeah.
Understood. Let's look at the other side of how we can reverse all of this and how we can have more nutritious food. And we'll probably close out with that.
To begin with, we started telling them about the sustainable agriculture. So we started very slowly getting them to shift to another methodology, that is growing without chemicals. And that itself was a big challenge because, you are trying to shift somebody from one methodology to another methodology, is you are tinkering with their livelihood. Tomorrow, if they don't get the yield, or they don't get, for some reason the crop fails, or for some reason the pest attack is more, or and other reasons why it has not grown, all this we will be responsible, right? So this was a very tricky thing, and it was very challenging too. We went out there telling them to slowly shift. Now, coming to the produce, second part, when they produced, and they were all happy because they could get the produce, and they got it at a rate which is, the input cost was very, very minimized in this methodology. And so they could save some money. They were quite happy. But when it came to selling their produce in the market, there it was all same. Whether it you chemically grow or naturally grow, nobody cared, because back in 2016, 6 years ago, or 8 years ago, people never cared much about this. Whether it is, they only saw if you're pricing it high, they wouldn't buy. If something is priced reasonably or a little lower than, so then the people would go for that. So this was the idea. But slowly, I could see a shift in the mindset of the people also, the consumers. They started demanding uh, naturally grown food. There were pockets in the same area where the farmers were also there, and the consumers were also there. So they became a market for these. So the farmers would produce and give. Even today, we get food from Karnool. So we get our rice and all spices and all that that's naturally grown. See, once people taste it and they know the benefits of it and how it really matters to their lives, then naturally they shift towards this, whether they have any awareness about nutrition or not. Uh, so people who are little aware and know that chemically laden food does not have that nutrition, what it is supposed to have, it really plays a very big role. They go in for it, come what may. Like they adopt a farmer, like you have your family doctor, like that they have one farmer who will be supplying, though he may not have, somebody will, through somebody he may get and give it to you. But when you spoke about the demand and the supply, this is where the whole thing, you have to be careful. When there is a huge demand and the supply doesn't match, then there is always, you have to be careful whether you're really getting what you're asking for, or is the demand being matched with other things. Like, last year we had this International Year of Millets, but millet production was not that much as the supply was. Now, what you were getting as a millet product, you really did not know whether it was totally a millet product. So, and then second thing, what I feel, though it is produced naturally, if it is processed and ultra processed, then it loses all the nutrition. Means what do I mean is, supposing a product is apple, and if it is little bit processed, like it is nicely washed and cut and ready to eat, still you are not far away from that product, right? If it happens something else, you know, like apple cider vinegar or something else, no,
The juices,
it
yeah.
juices, and it's packaged. Now at every stage, it is, something is being added to it. One, it is processed, first graded, processed, then it is made into juice, then it is packaged. Then at every, every action of that, the whole process, something is being added, some chemical is being added for processing, making juice, and then packaging it and extending the shelf life of that product in that package. Now, do you think, one is it has moved away from the product to something else. Second thing, at every stage you have added some chemical in order to preserve it and keep it as what you intended it to be. Then also you lose the nutrition. That's how the nutrition is lost in the food. Too much of processing and too much of, now we are used to all whites, right? You want everything to be very nice, shining white. And the more white you desire for, it undergoes so much of processing and so much of chemicals all through. So then you lose the entire what you're supposed to have, you will not be having it. You will be throwing it away. And what trash you need not have, that you may be ending up having that trash. So we have to be very aware of this. So total white rice, thoroughly processed rice, or total white your maida, mm, and then white salt or white soda, no baking soda. All these really matter. So you have to know what you are asking for. So,
Yeah. So being more aware, being more educated on where our food comes from is the probably the baseline of all of this. And there is a lot that can be done on this. And it all starts with these simple steps. We always like to look at the impact that it has, even on some of the sustainable goals. And these, of course, are set by the United Nations. Some of the main ones are good health and well-being, responsible consumption and production. Some of the secondary impacts can be on poverty, decent work and economic conditions, zero hunger, sustainable city, climate action, life on land, and of course, the partnership of the goals. And there are so many other conversations that can be had around this. We were just talking about more so on human health. We also will talk about the impact of environment. We basically touched a little bit touch and go at the start. And also we'll be talking more about the nutrition, carbon footprint, and we'll get into more conversations. So we'll be closing out on this particular discussion. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
yeah, what simple method is in order to, let us not get into too many details, but for a general, a normal person who does not have much access to information and at this point of time is not totally aware. So you just stick to one mantra, that is, you eat what is seasonally and locally available. They are grown seasonally and locally they are available, and it is not preserved for a very long period of time. And try to eat, whole grains and have a diversity in your diet. Whether it is grains or the oil that you consume or the vegetables that you have and the fruits that you have, try to have a variety of it, not the same monotonous thing. It's not good for your health, and try to balance it out. This two, three things, if we follow, we would have really become more. Later on, we can talk about the details. This, I think, I wanted to tell the audience about these two few things. That's all.
Yep, some of the simple ways to start is one of the best things instead of overcomplicating all of that. Yeah, we'll be back with more discussions around these topics and lots more. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This is Going Easy on Earth.